Hey, good morning, guys. So, maybe it fits that we're beginning our conclusion on this concluding week of our quarter one, and so with that, I'm going to give you guys a walkthrough, very similar to the introduction work that we did last week, but this time it's on the other end of our work, which is the conclusion. Okay, so we've talked a lot about making first impressions. We put that to practice with writing introductions, right, using hooks, other things. And so today we're going to have an opportunity to start making a final impression, all right, with our conclusion. And I think final impressions are just as important as first impressions. They're the bookends. It's what our readers first encounter when we write an introduction, and it's how our readers leave us when we write our conclusions. All right. So just as I asked you to take writing your introduction seriously and really thinking about its purpose, all right, I want you to do the same with your conclusion. Okay. And so with that, much the same. Many of you have selected genres other than essays. Some of you have selected essays, all right? And really, for this, the main difference is for those doing things other than essays, you will have a separate heading that says conclusion, and then you'll have the concluding piece that accompanies that down at the bottom of whatever work you're doing, okay? For those who are writing essays, as with your introduction, there should already be a conclusion in there because that's the general expectation of a conclusion. All right, and so with that, I'm gonna share with you my approach for writing conclusions. All right, or what my expectations are. And so we'll begin with what I call the rehook. All right, and the idea here, guys, is we circle back through. Um, I think that if you don't rehook, your hook wasn't worthy to begin with, and I mean that frankly. All right, a hook should never just be something that we just toss out there. A hook should be something that we have intention behind, and that intention should always be that we come back to it in the end. And so that's what I'm asking you to do with your rehook, is circling back to that big idea, to the spirit of your hook in the first place in your introduction. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment with my example. Um, for non-essay folks, please don't use to conclude or in conclusion. It's not necessary. We already have a heading that says conclusion. For the essay folks, all right. I'm gonna encourage you to step out of your comfort zone maybe and not use a signal word or a transition word like to conclude or in conclusion. And this is how I would sell it to you. Your reader knows that it's a conclusion. All right, it's that part of the essay, and but beyond that, not just where it is, but also what you're doing with it. All right, and I know probably in the past you've been taught to use those things. If you want to use them, go ahead. All right. I'm just trying to get you to expand your horizons a little bit, if you will, and to share with you and show you that they aren't always necessary. All right. And unless it's a really long or complicated piece, all right, I don't think we need. Well, even then, I just don't think it's necessary. All right. But again, if you want to use it, essay folks, because that's what you're used to doing, go ahead. But I'm giving you some permission to maybe try something a little differently this time. Okay. Um, for all of you, your rehook should be followed by making a final impression. This is where we kind of share some final insights. We kind of share some words of wisdom that circle back to our big idea with the context of our topic and our purpose. All right. And as a general rule, number 4 down here, we don't introduce new information in our conclusions. All right. And I know some of you have been taught to offer a summary, that kind of goes back and summarizes the essay or the work, if you will. I'm going to discourage that as well. All right. And unless it's a really long or complicated piece, or if it's done for effect, right? If it's necessary for effect that you have to go back and say, I have covered these points, then do that. But if not, I'd like to see you move away from the summary approach. All right. Um, to your conclusions, because I think, and again, it's, since we're speaking frankly, and I did earlier, I think particularly for shorter pieces, it's like, duh, I just read your essay, I know you covered that, you don't need to tell me. I think it's far better and makes a way better impression, all right, to end with words of wisdom or final insights about your topic, or your or taking us back to your thesis or your purpose. All right, so that's what I'm going to ask you to do. All of you will be doing your work in this document right here. Um, just like we did with our introduction, I want you to do it separately. Non-essay folks, you'll start writing from here because you haven't done this yet. Essay folks, you should already have a conclusion in your essay. And if you do, I just want you to copy and paste it from your latest draft into here, just like we did with the introduction. And then I want you to go back and make sure that you're doing what I'm asking you to do. Then if not, revise, okay? All of you, I will ask you to do your rehook in yellow. Remember, this can be more than one sentence, chicos, all right? Just like your hook can be more than one sentence, all right? And then I want you to highlight your words of wisdom or your insights in green, and that's basically everything else that's left after your rehook. All right. Now I'm going to take you back to my example specifically that I offered to non-essay folks last time. So here's my introduction, and the reason I'm leaving the introduction here is because I want you to rehook. Notice in my introduction for my hook, I will not break, I will not break, I will not break. All right. So I use the three-peat here. All right. And so I kept with the same idea, but I changed it up a little bit because the idea is I'm not going to break, I'm going to bend. So I'm taking it back to my hook idea. I will bend, I will bend, I will bend. All right. And if I have to, I'll bend some more. For if I break, I cannot serve. And those I serve need me to be unbroken. All right. So I think if you went back and reread my introduction, you would see that the two go together, that I've brought back full circle, that instead of the idea of breaking, I'm going to bend so I don't break. All right. And so what I hope that that communicates to you and to my reader ultimately is I was very intentional about the decisions I made early on with my essay. Okay. And then finally, these are the words of wisdom that I decided to end with. And again, they're not that brand new. All right, they circle back to the ideas that I posted in my introduction as well. I will not approach learning from a place that is neither aware of nor that is neither aware of nor responsive to. Is that right? Will not approach learning from a place that is neither aware of nor responsive to, yeah, needs of my learners. I believe I have to be flexible to succeed as a teacher, so I bend again and again and again. And going back to that three-peat idea that I used early on, all right. And then also up here, I talked about the success. If I'm failing kids, if I'm succeeding as a teacher, if I'm failing as a teacher, so that's why I brought back the idea of succeeding. Notice conclusions. My conclusion is not long. Conclusions don't need to be long, but they do need to be sweet, which means that we've made that final impression, and that's what I want you guys to work towards. Okay, so with that, I hope it helps. All right, remember this is just a draft. Okay, expect it to get better. And then also expect that I will give you feedback in regards to the requirements and guidelines that I provided. So that's our work for today. All right, let's try to get this done as soon as possible. Today would be ideal. If not, let's try to make it tomorrow so I can give you guys some feedback. Okie dokie. All right, there's your walkthrough.